My name is Amanda Thiel, and I work with a team of social and natural scientists at Oregon State University who are researching wildfire recovery across Washington, Oregon, and California. In 2024, we interviewed over 150 people in 5 wildfire-affected communities to learn about their experiences and perspectives on what was helpful and what were hindrances on their road to recovery. The questions we asked were developed in partnership with community groups involved in the recovery efforts of these communities. These groups were instrumental in identifying residents and recovery workers to talk to. During these interviews, one of the questions we asked was, would you like your story shared? And if so, how? These short videos represent the key concepts that wildfire survivors and recovery workers wanted to share and have others learn from. We are deeply grateful for the time and willingness to share the wisdom and knowledge that residents and recovery workers provided through these interviews. These short videos summarize only a small fraction of the voices and the main points that we heard throughout our research, and they offer ideas for supporting these communities or others affected in the future. We hope that you find them informative and inspiring. After wildfire, the story of recovery is often focused on rebuilding. We learned that recovery can mean much more than rebuilding, and the path to community recovery is not straight or short. In fact, many residents pointed out that the word recovery doesn't adequately capture their and their community's story. Throughout this video, you'll hear from community members that experienced a wildfire in their own voice, or an actor speaking the direct quotes that we heard.
What I think recovery means to people is that I've returned to where I was, and for most people, that's impossible.
I don't think I know one person that would say that they're recovered, and so we've really tried not to use that term. Just because they have a house doesn't mean they're recovered.
Imagine being on a road that doesn't quite make sense. You can't see what's around the next bend, and there are no signposts to help you know where you are. You may come across a familiar landmark and realize that rather than going forward, you have gone backward. Others, not on the road, see a clear, straight line on the map and can't understand what's taking so long. To many wildfire survivors and those involved in the recovery process, there is no clear exit from the road.
You take 3 steps forward and 2 back, and so you retrace the ground over and over.
It's like a 3-dimensional puzzle. You never know when you'll get your next piece.
I think we're recovered, that we have everything we need recovered. But recovered mentally, maybe, partially, that I don't know if we'll ever be there.
We built again, but it doesn't feel like home.
For many, recovery means adapting to new realities, emotionally, physically, and socially, rather than returning to what was.
What recovery means to me is taking the long way through to superar algo. You need to adapt, and you won't be the same as before.
Wildfire recovery is much more than how many homes are rebuilt. It is also about how individuals and communities adapt physically, economically, and emotionally to their new realities, and the assistance they get along the way to help this process. Here are some things you can do to help. If you have a close family member or friend that experienced a wildfire, ask to help fill out forms for recovery assistance. Many wildfire survivors simply do not have the energy to complete the forms or collect the information. Helping wildfire survivors complete these forms and find needed resources will help with the mental strain of recovery. Continue to offer help after the first few months. Recovery takes a long time, but much of the assistance comes only in the beginning. For an acquaintance, coworker, or someone you are less familiar with, check in with them and ask how you can be of service. Remember that even if someone does not lose their home in a wildfire, they can be deeply impacted in many seen and unseen ways for a long time. For communities impacted by wildfires that you do not know but want to help, while donations are intended to be helpful, most wildfire survivors need the ability and dignity to purchase their own things that will help them adapt to their new conditions. Consider giving direct financial donations to reputable organizations so that your donation gets into the hands of wildfire survivors and communities to use in ways that work for them. After wildfire, the natural landscape can become a mirror for one's recovery experiences and feelings. Many wildfire survivors first described the land they once knew intimately as unrecognizable: charred trees, bare hillsides, a moonscape. But over time, many began to see change. Some survivors see their own healing reflected in the first green signs of regrowth and find new beauty and hope in how the landscape has been transformed.
It was a moonscape after the fire. We felt exposed inside and out.
The healing and hope that survivors found related to the environment was especially meaningful when it was reinforced by local social organizations. Environmental nonprofits and other local-led restoration efforts provided compassion, care, and hope.
Someone needs to play the role of sort of land social worker, so we started to walk the land with people. It was important for us to listen and help people process it, but also to give them some hope that we live in a landscape that lots of times will recover on its own. It might be different than it was before, but it can recover. Most of the time, people just wanted to walk and tell you what it used to be and what it meant to them. And they wanted to be sad about that. And they wanted to just hear, hey, I think there's a real chance that something cool could come back.
Communities that have experienced the wildfire often grapple with fire's future role on the land. Some see it as natural, even necessary, for the health of the natural environment and to protect against future wildfires. For others, it is a reminder of all that was lost.
So, we need wildfire here. It belongs here. What we need to figure out is how to live with it.
As people rebuild, they face complicated decisions about how to care for lands that are private, public, large, and small. Managing land, whether post-fire or in terms of proactive mitigation for potential wildfire, has both opportunities to bring community members together and the potential for conflicts if there are disagreements on the appropriate actions that should be taken.
And people, with any of these thinning projects, prescribed burns, you meet so much opposition. You go, wow, you got to figure this out. Little one now or big one later. And I think that people are finally figuring that out.
However, wildfire mitigation practices such as removing underbrush or trees near the home, commonly referred to as defensible space practices, which are intended to reduce the risks of future wildfires, may be challenging for some residents to take on, particularly for those who are elderly, low income, or people with disabilities. Fortunately, there are programs that specifically help these residents manage their property, and the benefits can ripple out to entire communities.
All of these people helping and volunteering to prepare the property begin to understand and see the value of coming together and working. And so a lot of these people then start undertaking these practices at their own home, started talking with neighbors. It was the snowball effect.
Efforts to identify the amount of healthy fire to bring back to the land are complicated and can bring up strong emotions in those who have experienced wildfires and those that love these landscapes. Achieving wildfire mitigation practices on various land types can be complex, but across the Pacific Northwest, people are learning what it means to live with fire in landscapes where fire has always played a role. Here are some things you can do to help. If a close family member or friend experienced a wildfire on their property, if possible, help clear wildfire debris safely. This could be vegetation or building materials. Make sure to use gloves and other protective equipment. Ask how they feel about the changes to their land or the surrounding landscape. Help identify and advocate for wildfire mitigation assistance programs for those who need it. For communities impacted by wildfires that you do not know but want to help, understand that land management and wildfire mitigation are complex. Avoid pointing blame, as it does not help with the recovery process. Instead, volunteer to help in locally led restoration activities. Consider recreating responsibly in the changed landscape. Many wildfire communities depend on outdoor recreation as part of their economy. In the immediate aftermath of wildfire, communities often come together to offer all types of support. This impromptu community organizing is often an encouraging first step and a strong memory held by wildfire survivors and others in the community years later. We found that in those early months after a wildfire, community groups and local organizations were instrumental in providing aid and resources. Recovery groups like community or volunteer organizations active in disaster, long-term recovery groups, funding through government programs, and churches and other nonprofits connected survivors to different types of assistance. They helped by removing debris and offering food and shelter before larger formal aid organizations and systems arrived. However, finding the right type of assistance can be intimidating and confusing to many wildfire survivors. Local disaster case management teams help survivors navigate bureaucracies and often confusing aid processes, while offering kindness and a familiar face. Many of these case managers continue to work with survivors today, several years after the fires.
When we first got together, it was a godsend for me. First of all, we all of a sudden, we had a family. People who told their stories, people cried, we read stuff to one another, and then we got through that. And now all of a sudden we were in phase 2, which was sharing a lot of resources, right? Did you hear about this grant? Here's a phone number for somebody who you can call for that. And that was extremely important to me. And those were all the people who didn't know anything. We figured it out together.
Many positive aspects of social connection and support continue in wildfire-affected communities today. However, many survivors also have strong lingering emotions about future wildfires and the safety of their family and loved ones. These emotions continue to impact many people's daily lives, particularly during wildfire season. Many are embarrassed to still feel afraid and have such a strong emotional response. Some have trouble accessing mental health care providers to assist in working through their feelings and fears.
Everyone, but especially the children, were also deeply affected. They all had friends who lost homes. Yeah, they all have fear. Actually, my older daughter, she wrote a poem, and it was about how living in the valley, it's kids' favorite season, right? Because school's out. No, the kids here hate it. Yeah, they hate summer. They're scared of it. They know that this is when things happen. This is when there's trauma.
Many of the same people and organizations who carried communities through the early days of recovery continued supporting them for years, but those efforts take energy and resources to sustain.
It's hard not to take on the client's stress. It's exhausting. It's not the kind of job you leave at work at the end of the day. It's not work in the typical sense. It's building relationships. These people became family to me.
Across these fire-affected communities, people came together to build networks of care made up of neighbors, volunteers, and local organizations, and many continue for years. But burnout is real, and funding often fades before all needs are met. As smoke season returns each year, so does the anxiety. This tells us that recovery isn't over, it's ongoing. These communities show what strength looks like, while also reminding us that true resilience means long-term support. Social, financial, organizational, and mental health alike for everyone. What you can do to help. If you know someone that experienced a wildfire, continue to be there for them and offer help or a compassionate ear. Help identify and advocate for mental health resources in wildfire-prone communities. We are deeply grateful for the time and willingness to share the wisdom and knowledge that residents and recovery workers provided through these interviews. These short videos summarize only a small fraction of the voices and the main points that we heard throughout our research. Wildfire recovery is a long and winding journey, one that unfolds over years through adapting to new realities in a changed environment. This journey is made a bit easier with the support of family and friends and communities continuing to work together. We hope this video series honors your experiences and contributes to more equitable, informed, and resilient approaches to wildfire recovery for all communities in the future. Please find links to resources provided in the video description. For any questions, please contact Professor Jenna Thiel at Oregon State University. Many thanks to OSU and the Joint Fire Science Program for funding this research.